Democrats want big spending on social, which botches everything within the borders of the United States, tries to police the world. Is it really proper for the U.S. government to subsidize rich allies like Germany and Japan, to decide which set of thugs should run Nicaragua, those guns, and try to jail heroes like Bernard Goetz who defend themselves? Something is drastically wrong with America.
Welcome to On Second Thought, where William Wagner gives you information that ought to give you second thoughts about the unconstitutional acts of our local, state, and federal government. I am Megan Wells. Now, producer and host of On Second Thought, the good guy in the white hat, William Wagner.
Thank you, Megan Wells. Thank you for the great intro. I'm William Wagner, the guy in the white hat, taking it off for you. Sorry to interrupt my regularly scheduled program tonight. Here on Take Back America, a very interesting state of world events have just transpired, almost invisible to the American people and to people in Australia, but very visible to the people in Iceland and very visible to the people in Cyprus. Cyprus, a few years ago, was having an economic crisis with the bank gangsters. I like to call them the bank gangsters. Some call them the Bilderbergers, some call them the Illuminati, some call them the Council of Rome or some other title, but Trilateral Commission, whatever. I lump all these things, they're connected by what you spend, the money. What most people have never grasped and still don't grasp is that these things that you have in your wallet or your purse, the paper things, the stuff the credit card is, it's not money, it's currency. Currency, but it's not money. Real money is made out of silver and gold, and you can't destroy its value by melting it down. It still has the value of the silver or the gold. Currency, however, is created by the elite bunch of bankers. I just call them all the bank gangsters. In Cyprus, about a week ago, the bank gangsters tried a muscle move. And the muscle move was, we're going to have a banking holiday. We're going to close the banks for an indefinite number of days, not more than a week. And then we're going to take 6% out of everybody's checking account or savings account if they had less than a certain amount of money. And if you had over that amount of money, they were going to take 9.99%, or roughly 10% of everything in your account. Now, no law in Cyprus gave them the right to do this. No judicial order gave them the right to do this. They were just going to do it. And I thought this was significant enough to interfere with my normally scheduled show today, Friday, the 22nd of March, when I hadn't planned to do this show. And the reason is this. We don't know if they were really going to go through with this or if they were just testing the waters, dipping their feet down in the waters of open and blatant thievery. Most of us take our money, we take it out of our wallet or out from our hidden place at home. We take our money out and we go put the stuff we call money, but this is just paper, it's just currency. Anybody could print this stuff. In fact, some people do, and they're called counterfeiters. And then there's the official counterfeiter, the Federal Reserve Bank. But we put them into banks to draw maybe 1% interest these days, or 0.5% interest. And the theory is our money is safe in there because we think it's our money. This is false. It's not our money. You may have earned something denominated in American dollars or Australian dollars or Kiwi, New Zealand dollars or Canadian dollars or English pounds or whatever your currency is. The real, the peso, the Deutschmark, French franc or Swiss franc or whatever your currency is. You may have earned something and you saved it in denominated, but that isn't real money. Because the people that issue that currency control it. And they keep flooding the market at a certain rate. And it's called the M1 and the M2 and the M3, and they've got all these fabulous, fancy formulas. But the bottom line is, they can go into those banks and say, we're going to take the money out, even though you didn't give us permission. This is like wholesale thievery by the banks that you thought were protecting your money. It's not safe there. And at some point in time, they could just take it in America or in Australia. I think what they did in Cyprus is they dipped their little dirty paws into their realm of let's see how the world reacts. And I think they picked Cyprus in particular because Russians, the new Russian millionaires and billionaires, have been piling up their money there because they're not real comfortable with Russian banks and Russian politics under President or dictator Putin. I have nothing against Putin, but he used to be the head guy of the, I think it was called the KGB, or the equivalent of the Russian CIA and assassination squads. And isn't it interesting, in the United States of America, we have had George Herbert Walker Bush as president, who used to be the head of the American equivalent of the KGB, to us known as the CIA. Isn't that interesting? Russia, new leader, is a guy, Putin, who used to run the KGB, and America's leader, about the same time, became the former leader, was the former leader of the CIA, George Herbert Walker Bush. And things have gone downhill in America ever since. Things have gotten better in the Soviet Union, or what we used to call the Soviet Union. It's not so united anymore. It's broken into many states in Russia. Now you look at what they just did. Whether they actually go ahead or not, it was supposed to happen today, and I'm not sure. There's mixed accounts. Did they actually take 6% or 9.99 or 10% out of some people's and not others? People were withdrawing their money as fast as they could as soon as they heard it. But what they are not talking about is that certain people connected to or related to the Warburg family, the Mellons, the Onassis family, and the Rockefeller and Rothschilds. People connected to the Rothschilds, the Warburgs, the Onassis family, they had noticed that this might happen weeks ago when there was not a whisper. We'll have to wait a week or two to see whether they actually went through with it and stole the money right out of the bank that was supposed to be saved or not. We don't know yet, but it's a telltale of where the international bank gangsters, as I call them, want to go. They want to show you they can take your money right out of the bank where you think it's safe. Now, I can't say for sure, but I heard a rumor that with all those Russians having lots of money in those Cyprus banks, Mr. Putin was deploying some Soviet ships and moving them a lot closer to Cyprus. Maybe just war exercises. We'll have to wait a week, but it's a telltale of what may yet be just around the corner. Now I want to talk about Iceland, who a few years ago had economic woes, And they solved it by arresting and hauling the bank gangsters off. Or at least what they did is when the interest rates and things got too terrible, they simply said, hey. And the women went with their pots and pans and they went down to the Icelandic parliament and they're going clang, 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 clang on their pots and pans so they couldn't get any business done. Not a word about this on the CNN, ABC, Fox, BBC. Not a word were we told that this little tiny island of Iceland had threatened the bankers. But first they had to throw out their entire Congress. They had a kind of a plebiscite vote. Should we kick everybody out or keep them? And it was about 90% to throw everybody out of the Icelandic parliament and 10% to keep them. Isn't that interesting? So all of them went out with that vote and they elected new people. And the first thing the new people did, because they were really angry about foreclosures, bankruptcies, and all that sort of thing, they were really upset. They just swept Congress out. I think Iceland is giving America a cue of what America should do. We should have a national plebiscite on throwing everybody out of Congress. All the U.S. senators, all the congressmen, nobody allowed to stay. We sweep them all out of office and they are barred from holding office for, say, 6-7 years. Any office. Dog catcher to congressman, they can't be in any office, nor can they be a lobbyist. Then we elect all new people from the ground level up. And they must be people who have held nothing higher in office than maybe a city councilman. Nobody from the state senate, nobody from the state assembly. We want ground level people who have not been in office, who have not been corrupted. Why should we sweep them all out? People, oh, even Rand Paul? Yes, even Rand Paul. I would rather sacrifice one Rand Paul, even though I think he's a chip off his father's block. He's probably a wonderful U.S. senator. He did a 13-hour filibuster trying to stop a minuscule part of one of Obama's most dreadful laws, giving Obama the right to assassinate citizens, American citizens, anywhere he wants to. And he filibustered, I guess, for one single reason. Just to say he can still do it, he can still kill American citizens anywhere, just can't kill them in America. Wow. And he couldn't get a lot of people in Congress to support him on this? So he had to do what they call a filibuster. Just talk endlessly and endlessly for 13 hours. If he couldn't get a majority of the Senate to agree with him that the president should not have, not just Obama, no president has ever dared to claim the right to assassinate Americans with no legal charges against them, no crimes proven, just, I don't like them, they might be a terrorist, and so I'm going to kill them. Push a button, send somebody in the Air Force with a Predator dome, kill somebody who's an American citizen. And the only thing Rand Paul was filibustering about was to stop it from becoming a thing that could happen in America. So he could still kill Americans on a cruise ship out in the Caribbean between Cuba and, say, Venezuela or South America. He could still shoot Americans on vacation in Spain or Germany or Indonesia or Japan. This is insanity. What's even more insane is the talking heads like Bill O'Reilly and Nancy Disgrace and these idiots that all claim Michael Jackson was going to prison. These same kind of idiots can't seem to find the balls. Well, of course, Nancy Disgrace never had any balls. But they can't find the chutzpah to stand up and say, this is just patently wrong. On the face of it, it's wrong. We have to end the endless war. We have to face the truth. We have to discover it, because some of you are still sleeping, and you think some 19 terrorists with little tiny knives that stick out about this far took over planes, commandeered them with little tiny box cutter knives, scared everybody, and flew into the Twin Towers and the 7 World Trade Center building and the Pentagon. All of that is garbage. Planes may have hit the Twin Towers. No plane hit the 3rd building, 7 World Trade Center, and no plane crashed into the Pentagon, regardless of what you've been told and told and told and lied to. And that's what Hitler did. He lied and lied and lied, and people went along with the lies. And one day, while Hitler was broadcasting all over Berlin, "We are winning the war. Keep on fighting. We are winning the war." Bombs were falling on Berlin. And Hitler went down into his bunker. And the lie was exposed. So, I thought it was worthy of note, because in Iceland, when the new parliament arrested the bank gangsters, guess what? Some of them got on their private jets and flew immediately to Belgium, Netherlands, and London. Get out of Iceland before they put you in the Huskow, in jail, in the prison. 1 or 2, I guess, got caught. One of them managed to sprain his ankle as they wrestled him to the ground, so he couldn't get to the airport. I think we should sprain a few ankles of some Rothschilds and Rockefellers. If that's what it takes to get back control of our government, to start issuing silver dollars like President John Fitzgerald Kennedy tried to do, actually did get them minted after he was assassinated, but that was the reason they assassinated him. It had nothing to do with Cuban missiles. It had nothing to do with Fidel Castro. All that was CIA propaganda, disinformation, so we would not track it back to the Rothschilds, the banking elite that kill people to start wars so they can make money, lending their fiat money they create out of thin air to the governments like US, Germany, France, whoever, doesn't matter what country. They create it out of thin air. They lend the money to the government goes in debt. Then the government has to pay down the debt, and you, the taxpayer, have your taxes upped and upped, and the value of your dollar or your peso keeps shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. Meanwhile, the politicians are stuffing their own pockets as fast as they can. I think some of you have seen that FBI video where they caught this congressman, I think in Florida. Literally, they offered him a bribe. It was a setup. And the congressman was literally caught on tape taking the wads of $10,000 in a stack and stuffing them in his pocket. Yeah, he went to jail. One went to jail. Whoopee. One congressman went to jail. Whoopee-doo. Clean house. I think Iceland had the right idea. We have a national plebiscite. We have the ballots counted by old people like you and me in the precinct. No vote scanning machines. No vote scanning machines. No Diebold. No Sequoia types or the next generation. All that is garbage. That's how they steal the elections. That's why we've got people who do not represent us. Right here in this county, in this state, in this country. Italy threw out those machines years ago. It only took one election and they knew those things were being used to rig the elections. That's why we keep crooked sheriffs like Los Angeles has, who covers up for the deputy who killed these 2 little children. Joey, Rachel, age 7 and 4. And then the wrongful death lawsuit is sabotaged by their own attorney in my First Amendment opinion, and I was the only person in Judge Hatter's federal courtroom down in central Los Angeles, right across from where the Conrad Murray trial took place, Kinney Corner. I was the only one there, and they wouldn't let a camera in. They wouldn't even let me take notes. Now, since when is it illegal to take notes in a courtroom when you're in the back row and there's nobody else in the entire courtroom except the parties at interest and the reporter. Judge Hatter sent his bailiffs, no, Mr. Wagner, you can't even write notes, you're not allowed. No cameras, no notes. This is Nazi America. Of course, I could write to the federal judicial panel and complain about Judge Hatter. I don't think it'd make any difference. They're all crooked. Show me one judge who's not crooked. Can we find one? It's like when